Wayt, and I'm joined by Alan Furmanski. I work for HPE and Alan's from Citrix, and we're going to talk a little bit about the current situation that we've got right now with regards to the pandemic and how HPE and Citrix can help you in this situation, but also a little bit of a talk about the future and what we're hearing from people, and try and share with you some tips and thoughts and ideas around what we've heard from our customers, and maybe it'll help you plan for the future and how we can help you plan and build a solution so that this sort of BCM event becomes business as usual. So, Alan, what have you experienced so far? What have you heard from your customers around the issue with the pandemic? What challenges have they had that you're aware of?
Yeah, Mark, so it's obviously an unprecedented event. And from the Citrix side, we have customers that are just looking to really ramp up capacity as quickly as possible to bring online a much larger remote workforce than really they ever had. And this is across VDI as well as other use cases, right? The apps and data that users need to be productive. So really increasing their footprint and providing that secure contextual access for their workforce to be productive, while at the same time seeing how it can also align with some of the business imperatives and looking sort of beyond at the other end of the tunnel to what this new work environment is going to look like in the years to come.
Yeah, we've had quite a lot of engagement with people wanting to hugely expand their VDI infrastructure. A lot of challenges with people also with VPN connectivity. So obviously, if you have a VPN concentrator and it's run out of capacity, obviously with VDI, you can, if you've got enough bearer capacity, you can increase the size of your internet connection without affecting your VPN tunnels, because people won't have to VPN for Citrix. They can just use the Citrix Workspace client, which comes through a separate part of your internet connection and doesn't affect your VPN concentrator. So there's things like that where you can move traffic around, and I've seen that happen a lot. We've seen a lot of hardware be moved into customers to augment their existing capacity. But also there's a lot of applications that aren't necessarily moved on to VDI that are now being moved in. So we're getting a lot of engagement around, so how do we make this remotely accessible, this application? I think the other challenge that some customers that we've seen from our side that have had is not being able to get hold of end user hardware, so laptops and desktop PCs. So we've had a lot of customers, and we worked with a business in Russia who a lot of their staff were using desktop PCs, and they weren't able to get that many laptops. And what we ended up doing with them is using remote PC and installing the remote PC client on the desktop PCs that are sat in their estate, and them just using their home PCs to access their desktop in the office securely. So that's quite a common thing. What has Citrix done around the remote PC recently? Has there been any change in the opportunities or the availability of the remote PC service?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned remote PC access, Mark, because I think it's an often overlooked solution as part of VDI in general, right? So being able to connect back to, like you mentioned, those physical PCs and laptops wherever they may reside, and you still get that same great Citrix user experience, right? Connecting from any device over any network. And IT loves it because they maintain full control as opposed to some other remote access solutions. So with remote PC access, we have a quick start now, and really this allows users to connect in and use the remote PC access. It's a newer offering. Traditionally, remote PC has been available in our VDI offerings, but we really want to make it available so that users that are maybe getting started, new organizations to VDI, can take advantage of it and get online as quickly as possible, right? Because you don't need that significant server infrastructure. You can quickly connect up with obviously some of the proven services that Pointnext can offer, and much quicker time to value to get users to connect to an environment that they're already familiar with.
Yeah, I think that was the crux of what we've done, and we've built a very quick assessment service that we had a rapid client virtualization assessment service that had been around for a couple of years. But what we realized is that there was a bit of a gap with the remote PC piece, but also how it fits into our other portfolio items, the other bits that we can do in our plan. So we built a very fast remote assessment service that is effectively a one-day workshop we do remotely, like we're doing now in Zoom. We can talk with our customers, look at the scenario and situations that they're in and how to get them up and running fast. So if they haven't got remote PC at the moment, we can work with them to put it in, or we can deliver it like we did in Russia, and then build that so that they're productive then. But also the other thing is, this is a lead in to help us to help someone build a strategy around what do we want to do going forward. So not only can we get over this hump that we've got right now, the issues that we've got being able to get in and get access to our applications, but also what does our application landscape, what is our workplace going to look like going forward? And that doesn't just have to be Citrix. We can also, we've been looking at Teams and the other Microsoft products that are there, but predominantly from the challenges that customers are having. If they've got Office 365, for example, they're generally in a good place. But even that doesn't give you access to all of those applications that you're running inside. And that is the sweet spot with Citrix's application suite, is that it allows you to mobilize those apps that you haven't necessarily allowed remote access to, but you can still do it securely. There's also the secure browsing piece as well, which obviously that bolts on top so that you can still allow people to browse the internet, but it puts watermarks all over their browsing. So that, again, for healthcare and financial services, is a real benefit. I think the other thing is, more and more people are working from home remotely now, but I think there is a feeling that people will come back in the office. However, the more customers that we're talking to, and I don't know what your thoughts are on this, we've talked to some financial services customers, and they're really nervous about people coming back in the office because it's actually, their staff have told them they're worried about hot desking. So hot desking was the big thing that everyone was utilizing, and you know, you and I have worked in the industry where we've been into hot desks and we've worked remotely. I've worked in Citrix offices in London. I've worked in our HPE offices in London. And you just sit at a desk that's spare. But the problem you've got now is that people have no idea who sat there before, and there's a nervousness around whether or not the desk is clean and whether it's been cleaned fully, and with keyboards and mice or whatever else. And I know in some companies you just get a desk, but in other companies you get a whole docking station and everything else. So there's a real nervousness about moving people into the office. So if you're going to mobilize your workforce fairly permanently, and some companies are already talking about moving larger chunks of their workforce out to be remote workers, they obviously will need to look at augmenting their existing capacity. So again, is there any are there anything that Citrix can do with regards to, if an existing Citrix customer is there, we can help them grow and build their existing Citrix footprint and add more applications into the footprint that they already have?
Yeah, exactly, Mark, right? I mean, we know that work has forever changed, and frankly, a lot of customers that we interact with, they're realizing that with the power of these kinds of access solutions, they're able to accomplish their business objectives. And naturally, they're also incurring some other challenges, but they're reducing some costs, right, in terms of facility costs. And so, right, many of these organizations will have to continuously reevaluate what's essential and what makes sense. And like you allude to, right, making sure that employees do feel comfortable if it's more of an open work style in the office. And these things are going to take time. But from our perspective, we really want to encourage customers to look at the situation holistically and everything that can be offered. When we talk with customers and prospects, they think they know Citrix and the HPE relationship and everything we can offer, right? But we've evolved in so many different ways in terms of delivering services and subscriptions and allowing customers to focus on the most strategic part of their business, while the strength and depth of our company's relationships, right, spanning over 2 decades now can deliver on the promise of ensuring that companies are remaining productive. So VDI, of course. There's additional use cases too, right? What about all the SaaS apps and the web apps, being able to provide the secure access there with our solutions, the remote PC access that we talked about, connecting
Yeah.
to physical systems, and BYO, and just different types of devices, different types of platforms. And I like the fact that you mentioned, right, the web browser, right, Mark, because publishing a web browser has always been one of the top published applications in traditional Citrix environments. So how can we continue to provide the level of contextual access and security that still provides a fantastic user experience, but also the control that that IT is looking for? So yeah, I mean, there's, from our perspective, I think it's challenging times, but we're excited about what the possibilities are for our relationship with Citrix
Yeah.
and HPE, and the value that we can really deliver to customers. So
Definitely.
so how do you
Definitely.
see things unfolding, Mark, in, say, the coming, we'll say, 6 months to a year? What's your take on things?
So I think there is going to be some work around mobilization of applications, as I've said. So the existing applications where they're not quite as mobile as they could be, I think with more people working from home, people will be looking to make their applications more robust, growing their VDI infrastructure. But I also think there's a couple of other things that we're involved with. And we've got to remember, HPE, we are by default a hardware company, but actually we're not. So HP Point Next, which is the bit that I work for, is a services company. We're HP Point Next Services. So we don't just do stuff that works with our hardware. We do a lot more besides. So one of the things that we're really excited about, and that we're looking to try and we actually won a hackathon recently about, which you're aware of, is the Citrix Workspace with Intelligence. So not just the workspace piece around allowing people access to those apps, but allowing, as you said, access to the software as a service applications, and allowing people to stop having to task switch between all these different things that they might use in different SaaS applications on a day-to-day basis, and allowing them to have more time to focus on the unstructured work that is the valued work that they do. So rather than having to deal with expense reports or deal with approvals for a leave, or all of the things that you do in all these different SaaS applications like Concur and Workday and all that stuff, bringing all that together into a single pane of glass inside the Citrix Workspace view, and allowing you to action those on your phone or on your desktop, actually gives you, on average, an hour a week back to do things that are more productive. I see the value in that hugely, and I know that we've been very close with Citrix in the build of this service, and I'm really passionate about it because I think it's a great service and it gives us a lot of time back. So I think that's one thing that we're going to focus on as HPE, and helping you as our customers out there, get more out of your platforms by utilizing Citrix Workspace with Intelligence and helping you connect to the different applications. And I think also the other thing that we've been focusing on and talking about is Citrix on cloud. So we've got Citrix Cloud from a management plane, but also Citrix Cloud from a compute plane as well. So if you temporarily have to augment your existing environment, you don't just have to buy hardware from us. Now, this sounds counterproductive for me to say this, right? But you don't just have to increase the amount of hardware that you need. You can also build some of that environment in Azure. So you could move certain workloads in and out of Azure, and Citrix is actually the glue. The Citrix Cloud is the glue that sticks all that together, that allows you to move your workloads into the cloud and all your workloads on premise. And those users who are connecting in through their Citrix Workspace app won't know and won't be any the wiser that you've moved them into Azure. You can configure it so that if you get it right, you can literally move workloads back and forth in and out. And from a BCM perspective and going forward, if you are having to build resource or urgently move people out and give them access to something where normally they'd be sat on premise or using their laptop in the environment, you can make very clever decisions around where their compute is and how they access their applications, actually without giving you ultimately the best flexibility you can have. So I think that's where I think a lot of companies are going to go forward, they're going to have to revisit their real estate situation, obviously because of the whole situation with hot desking and so on and so forth, and maybe downsize some of the sites that they've already got. So I think those are the things that we're going to see happening, and that's going to have knock-on effects to things like networking as well. So again, that plays in again to the Citrix play with things like SD-WAN and with NetScaler. So I think that there's a lot of work that we're going to be doing together over the next 6 to 12 months to try and help our customers weather the storm, but also build the new normal. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I totally agree, right? This is a multi-phased approach.
Yeah.
And as customers sort of exit the business continuity, more, kind of now in the moment, I need thousands of users working remotely phase to what is the new norm going to look like? These are all options that are absolutely on the table in terms of the micro apps and the workspace with intelligence capabilities, like you mentioned. How do we simplify work, streamline work, and allow users to be more productive? And how do we provide that level of choice, right? I think we live in a hybrid cloud world, and hybrid cloud means different things for different organizations, different verticals, and we need to jointly be there to meet the customers where they're at and where they plan to go on their cloud journey. So it's going to be very, very exciting and very interesting times, and I absolutely look forward to our relationship and the strength of the solutions that we can provide moving forward. So maybe to wrap up, talking a little bit about the solutions. I know we have several offerings in play. What are some of the key offerings from the Point Next side, Mark, and what could people do to learn more about them?
So we've got, from a Point Next play, we've got the advisory and professional services. So we can help you augment, build, grow, shrink, maintain your VDI environment. We can do the assessment services, I said, where we can look at your existing environment and help you build a strategy around what you are going to have going forward. We can help you with the networking side of that as well. We have a full networking team. But also, then we get to the hardware. So physical infrastructure, of course, that's taken as read. There are deals with HP Financial Services at the moment that allow you to trade in your old gear. So if you move from something like an old VDI infrastructure and you put in something like GreenLake, it could well be that you utilize the money from your existing infrastructure to pay for your new infrastructure. So actually it's a net neutral cost that you're moving across to. And then you just pay for the consumption of that environment. So pay as you go in some respects, but pay as you consume. And like I say, the thing to add to that is also GreenLake VDI. So we very closely built a GreenLake VDI platform with Citrix, and that's a really good environment that you can consume per user. You basically have different models of compute. You tell us how many of each of those you need, and we can give you a pre-configured, pre-designed solution that is fully managed, fully maintained, including the licensing or using your Citrix licensing if you wish. And gives you a full end-to-end management. And like I said earlier, that can be linked into Citrix Cloud and also linked into Azure Compute. So you can move workload back and forth off-prem and on-prem as you see fit. If you want to, you can temporarily create compute in Azure, backfill that with GreenLake VDI, and then move it back into the GreenLake VDI environment. In most cases with GreenLake VDI, we can get the hardware to you very quickly because it's built on commodity infrastructure. We can increase the capacity of it very fast. But if you needed something today and we couldn't turn up with the hardware for a week, we can still build it in Azure. You can temporarily use it in there and then bring the workloads back on premise. So we've got ultimate flexibility. So we cover pretty much end to end of the Citrix portfolio and also the HPE scale. So Point Next is the glue that sticks it all together for customers and helps you sort of understand what other people have done and how to best leverage the infrastructure. After all, we're the people who design the hardware, so we're going to know how to get the most out of it. You're the guys who write the software. We know and work very closely with you, and we understand how to leverage the software the best. So I think we're a good team together. So that's where we go.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. And from the Citrix side, we've got some packages that are available, mainly targeted at net new customers, but also customers that are maybe coming from more of a legacy Citrix environment. And it's all focused around the use cases, right? What are you trying to accomplish?
Yeah.
Things ranging from your web and SaaS apps with secure single sign-on, the remote PC access capability that we talked about, connecting to physical PCs and laptops through your delivery infrastructure. Then we also have the traditional virtual app and desktop delivery solutions. And all these capabilities are part of the broader overall Citrix workspace, right? Because at Citrix, we think that, and we always have, that work is not a place, right? It's what you do, and it's how you're able to be productive. And I think these challenging times are really, really demonstrating that across the board, right? Every industry, all the geographies, and working together with Pointnext services, I feel like we have this incredible opportunity to help customers and deliver on their business imperatives, and we're pretty excited about it. So
Yeah.
looking forward to the future and everything we're able to accomplish together, Mark.